every Monday on TexasFootball.com, every Monday in the offseason.
Every Monday at 1 p.m.
1 p.m. We post Matchup Monday.
Woo!
All-time Matchup Monday, where we take two of the all-time great Texas high school football teams and say, what would happen if they played? Which is interesting. Last week we did what? It was 08 Lake Travis.
No.
I got that back.
96 Westlake.
96 Westlake, that's right. 96
2000
Westlake
Midland Lee.
and 2000 Midland Lee. Cedric Benson against Drew Brees.
Mm-hmm.
Here is one. This week's one is we're going back farther, going back a couple decades earlier, which makes everything a little dicier to figure out. But beyond that, we're going with, I think, whereas last time we did two teams with super mega stars, right? Cedric Benson, one of the all-time great Texas high school football players. Drew Brees, an NFL MVP. He won the MVP once, right? Got to be,
yes,
right?
Probably. I don't know. Super Bowl champion.
Super Bowl champion.
Super Bowl MVP.
Yeah, and an elite Texas high school football quarterback, like two guys like going at it, right? That's what it had.
Right.
Here, with this week's
Right.
matchup, we have one with arguably the brightest star in Texas history.
Yes.
And one that's just awesome.
Yes.
We're talking, of course, about the 1970 Austin Reagan Bulldogs taking on the 1973
Raiders. Austin Raiders. Reagan Raiders.
Why do I keep saying Bulldogs?
I don't know. There's a lot of Bulldogs in the state, though.
What Austin buoys the Bulldogs?
Buoys the Bulldogs, yeah.
I keep saying that. I don't know why.
It's all right.
The 1970 Austin Reagan Raiders taking on
the Raiders.
1973 John Tyler. I screwed up Reagan, so I might as well screw up
We
John
should
Tyler.
say before
John
we go-
Tyler Conquistadors. No, it's the John Tyler. John Tyler Lions.
We should say before we get into this one that the fan vote was overwhelmingly Midland Lee over Austin Westlake.
Yeah.
So much so that I'm suspicious that there might have been an algorithm ticked in there.
Yes.
Yes.
There was a lot of votes.
Yes.
So, 1970 Austin Reagan Raiders against the 1973 John Tyler Lions. We'll start with Reagan, 1970. This is one of those high school football dynasties that you forget about. Okay?
Yeah,
because
it's kind of criminal.
Because between about 1965 and about 1971, you could make the argument that Austin Reagan was the best football program in the state.
Oh, yeah.
And one of the best football programs in the nation.
Twice national champions, declared national champions. Now, we can go back and forth about the validity of such declarations.
It's a little
But
crazy, but
the fact that Austin Reagan at one point was on a national level, and I mean now we don't even think about him.
well, I don't even apparently know their mascot.
Yeah.
67 through 70, they go 51-3.
Yes.
Okay, they won three state titles there, 67, 68, and 70. Coach Travis Raven was just a mastermind.
He was great. He was a great coach at everything. He won a state championship in baseball, too.
Yes. And the way that they worked was that they didn't have a superstar, but their offensive line play was great. They had this grinding running game, and then their defense just destroyed you. Their defense just crushed you. They were the ultimate kind of faceless team.
Yep.
That they didn't have this guy that you go, we got to stop that guy. You got to go, we got to stop all that.
Right.
All that going on.
Everything going on.
We got to figure out a way to stop it. The defense was elite, and it was the kind of thing that we don't see a whole lot anymore are these super duper elite defenses like we saw with Katy.
Right.
It's a very old. When we talk about old school, we're talking about this: grind you into dust running game, and a fantastic defense.
Yep.
For me, this is a fantastic example of the way that football used to be,
right?
Where you could have a school kind of in not an inner city, but in the city
Yes.
of Austin.
Yes.
That could pull together this team and with a system and with a fantastic coach in Travis Raven could go out and just dominate people.
Yeah.
So Reagan, 1970, I mean, really you could pick 67, 68, 70. They're all built the same way, and they're all awesome. 51-3 over 4 years is pretty outrageous.
Pretty good.
Yeah. So they're the faceless team, right? They're the team that doesn't have this superstar, but they're just awesome at everything. Here, on the other side of it, is quite possibly the most polar opposite of that. That you have 1973 John Tyler. In fact, this team was voted the best team of the quarter century from 1960 to 1985 by TCTF.
Yeah.
We're quite high on this team.
Yes.
And one of the big reasons, I'm not going to say the only reason.
Not the only
but
reason.
There's a headline here. With Austin Reagan, there's not a headline, right?
No.
It's like just great team.
Yep.
With John Tyler, there's a headline. And the headline is the Tyler Rose.
Yeah.
It's Earl Campbell. This is Earl Campbell's team from back in 1973. And he was ridiculous. He was, before he was a superstar for the Oilers, okay?
Yeah.
Before he was a superstar for Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Before all that, he was the most unstoppable force in Texas high school football. Out there in Tyler, just dominating people. Go on YouTube. Go on YouTube and look up Earl Campbell High School, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Go look it up. Go look up Earl Campbell, John Tyler. You will see a man among boys. And he's playing some great teams out there in East Texas and in the DFW Metroplex before they get to title games. It was ridiculous how good they were.
Yeah.
But it wasn't just him, and I want to make sure that we give a lot of credit to a lot of other guys. The quarterback Larry Hartsfield did an outstanding job. It's nice to be able to turn and hand it off to that, but that can't be your one thing.
Yeah, no, that'll be pretty nice.
Yeah, and they beat this Austin Reagan team in 1973 at the Astrodome for a title. Now, the other star on this team would be, there are other brothers, other Campbell brothers. Steve and Tim were there. Part of the big defense. Gary Don Johnson was on this defense. The defense was very good. The defense was very good as well, but that's all going to get lost because everyone's going to talk about Cujo. Everyone's going to talk about the Tyler Rose.
Right.
Going to talk about Earl Campbell. And for good reason, right? He's one of the all-time great Texas high school football players. He was legendary in high school.
Yep.
And then was legendary at Texas, and then was legendary in the pros.
Right.
This is a guy who is Texas.
Yes.
And so when you go in this matchup with 1973 John Tyler against 1970 Austin Reagan, you're having to choose. Are you going with kind of the well-oiled machine, the thing that doesn't beat itself, that just goes and goes and goes and goes and goes, and there's so many different ways it can beat you in the 1970 Austin Reagan team? Or do you go with the team with maybe the greatest player in Texas high school football history, maybe the face of football in the Lone Star State, in Earl Campbell, not to mention pretty good supporting cast? So where do you go with that one? I'll let you answer first, Max. Do you want?
Oh, you think so, huh?
Or do you want me to answer first?
I'll answer. Okay, so my thinking in this was something that was kind of sympathetic, I guess, to Reagan, what you were mentioning earlier and how we talk about this. This is one of the most undervalued dynasties in state history. Mm-hmm. You can't possibly imagine what it took to be that dominant in that stretch. Mm-hmm. Defense wins championships. I'm going with the underdog on defense.
Interesting.
It's not the best player on the field. It's the best team on the field. And even though I think John Tyler that year was a great team, and I know there will be plenty of people that say that John Tyler team might be one of the greatest teams ever, both of these teams are. And I'm going to be the odd man out, I think. I'm probably going to go with Austin Reagan.
Okay. Mike Craven, our contributor, made sure to he picked John Tyler.
Yes.
And as much as I hate to agree with Mike, I got to agree with Mike. I got to go John Tyler. Because for me, as great as this Austin Reagan team, and I hope I've done a good enough job getting them over, making sure you guys know how good they are.
How awesome they were.
Yeah. In order to pick Austin Reagan to win this matchup, you would have to pick against Earl Campbell.
Right.
And I am simply not prepared to do that.
And I don't think anyone can fault you for that.
I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to pick against Earl Campbell. I'm not. He is Texas personified.
Yes.
He is football in Texas personified.
Sure.
He was people who know him from University of Texas and the Oilers, you got a good picture of him. Mm-hmm. Go watch him in high school.
Yeah.
It was not close. He was the best player on the field every time he took the field.
Yeah.
So for me, I just cannot. I don't think I can pick against. I just don't think I can pick against him. And I think for me, that's what it comes down to. And I know that you're kind of picking the one the team with the headline, and maybe that's too easy. Maybe you're saying, oh, that's the easy
I think
way
this
out.
is one of those times where it's not too easy. I think it makes sense.
I'm just picking them.
Yeah.
I've got to. So.